This episode of Q Point Podcast is pre-recorded, produced and sponsored by Corenna Quirk, broker at Next Home Experience.
Different views.
I know your story.
From different cues.
Incredible job.
He's David Quirk.
You brought it up.
And she's Corenna Quirk.
Imagine.
This is
Q Point.
Now joining us in studio is Penobscot County Commissioner Dan Tremble. So good to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, good to see you guys. Great to be here on a cold day.
I know, right?
So you were county treasurer, and now you have been Penobscot County Commissioner for 1 year. Tell us about it.
Well, as treasurer, I was treasurer of 12 years from 2006 to 2018. And you really kind of keep an eye on the bills, make sure there's no charges coming into the county that shouldn't be. One thing I did as county treasurer, I recommended that we went from using number 2 heating oil to using natural gas. And it saved the county tens of thousands of dollars a year. Those are old county buildings that aren't that energy efficient. They went through a lot of oil down there. So it's worked out well. And a couple of years ago, they put a new furnace in, the new boiler in at the county. It's things you don't think about that much, but it's made a difference. And every year, it adds up to a lot of money. But as commissioner, you're responsible for everything in the county. Elected officials, sheriff, register of probate, register of deeds, DA's office. You oversee all the county offices as well as the menial things in the county. The jail budget has to go through the county commissioners. Everything to do with the county goes through the commissioners. It has to be approved.
Speaking of the jail, can you give us an update on that?
Actually, just before I was treasurer, probably in 2006, in the spring of 2006, almost 20 years ago, the county had a jail advisory committee that I was on at the time. And we looked at the jail at that time was probably about almost 20 years since it had been renovated in the late 80s. And that was a major project. And then when they did that, they thought, we outbuilt it. We'll never have to do anything in the jail again. Well, 20 years later, that wasn't the case. Even though we needed to do something in the early 2000s, nothing happens. For the last 20 years, the jail's been over capacity. It's not a good jail as far as the working conditions for the jail employees or the inmates. It's not safe for either one. It's not gotten better. It's gotten worse. And now we're in a situation where we have to pay to board out prisoners. In next year's budget, $2.3 million has been budgeted to pay other jails in the state to take our prisoners. It's not a sustainable position we're in.
There's been some reports that you've found a location for the new jail. Tell us about it.
A number of years ago, the commissioners bought the old Y property on Hammond Street, and they were hopeful that that might work for the jail and we could keep it downtown, have it adjacent to the current jail. But the conditions on that lot and the size of it ended up not being conducive. They could have built there, but it would have been about a 6-story building, and it really wasn't what the city wanted for looking downtown, a 7-story jail. That jail that's been in the downtown since the 1800s that we currently have, most people don't realize there's a jail in downtown. Nobody's ever escaped from the jail. Well, years ago, somebody escaped when they were moving from the jail to the district courthouse next door. But as far as getting out of the jail itself, nobody's ever escaped as far as I'm aware. There are a number of places we looked at in Bangor because the county jail needs to be in the county seat. Bangor's the county seat. If it's going to be located outside of Bangor, it needs to pass a county-wide vote to allow that to happen. So we looked at a number of spots. We've got an option on a parcel in Hamden, which is just contiguous to where we wanted to be in Bangor. It's not an area with a lot of housing. It's an industrial park, and it's adjacent to Bangor, so it seems like a good spot. And we've met with officials in Hamden, and they seem receptive. They had a few concerns that we've addressed, but they seem very receptive to it out there.
So there needs to be a vote?
Yeah, the county-wide vote has to take place, and I think at the same time we'll probably do a vote for the bond because we really need to get things moving as quickly as possible.
Will that be in 2026?
We still haven't narrowed it down yet. The last I heard, we were shooting to have both votes happen in June of 2026.
I'm sure you've heard people talking about property tax, and we all know that the county budget obviously increases every year. How are you commissioners trying to work to keep that budget down?
Well, when people get the bills this year, they'll probably think we haven't been working on that. It's frustrating. I've just finished up my 15th year on the Bangor City Council. And when we do a budget every year, at least I'm very cognizant of the impact it has on the taxpayer. If you're an elderly person in Bangor and you bought a house years ago, you might not realize it, but you could have a $500,000 house now, and Bangor's tax rate's in the $16 range. You could be paying $8,000 a year in taxes on a $500,000 house in Bangor. That's not a small amount of money for somebody that's retired in this area. And when you get your bill, it breaks it down. It says what goes to education, what goes to the city part of the bill, and what the county part is. The county part traditionally had been around $1. I think it's crept up now. It's probably about $1.40. Don't quote me on this. I haven't looked it up lately, but I think it's in that range. But this year's budget, because of the cost. Again, it goes back to the jail cost, and it's going to be a substantial increase. I'm going to say a 20% increase in the tax, but that's not on your overall tax. That's just on the county tax. So it might go from $1.40 to $1.70, which is still a lot, but it's not like your entire tax bill is going up 20%. The county portion of your tax bill will go up 20%. But what's happened in 2021, a number of years ago, the state set a cap on what you could spend on your jails, and the county started exceeding that because we were having to board prisoners out of the jails. So they started paying for it out of surplus, and now the surplus has been depleted, and that gap in the budget has grown to $4 million. So if we don't fund that $4 million this year, we won't be able to continue because surplus is gone, which they've used to fund it, and that's all we had. So we need to increase it, or we'll be in the same position as Washington County.
And that tax is countywide, right?
Yeah, it's a countywide tax. Everybody's paying it. And that's the other thing that's happened with people's taxes. I mean, since COVID, and you know, Corinne is a realtor, residential property values have skyrocketed, but commercial property values have increased, but not at the same level as residential values. The homeowners are really feeling the brunt of these increases in taxes.
How many years were you on the city council?
I did 6 years from 99 to 2005, and I got on again 9 years ago, so 2016 to last week.
Well, how's it feel to be on vacation?
Actually, it feels good. I was thinking why I was so relaxed this afternoon, but I don't have to go to any meetings tonight. For usually Sunday, I'm spending a lot of the day looking at agendas and what the items are, but this is kind of a relaxing Sunday. We went down to Bar Harbor yesterday.
Nice. You are listening to Q Point Podcast. I'm Corenna Quirk, co-hosting with my husband, David Quirk, and we are having a conversation with Penobscot County Commissioner Dan Tremble. During your tenure there, did you find the issues have changed over the years from when you first served to most recently?
Absolutely. Actually, when I was first on in the early 2000s, I always thought the job of city manager would be kind of a fun job to have, and especially in a city like Bangor. I've lived in Bangor my whole life, but I don't think it's so much of an exciting job now as it used to be. The issues people see are what the city manager deals with every day. She gets calls about the homeless situation every day. She gets calls about the drug problems in Bangor every day. You see it in cities all across the country. It's awful, and we're getting settlements out of the opioid money, but it's not going to impact in a positive way as much as the opiate situation impacts us in a negative way. Bangor's changed a lot. We're doing what we can, but some things you can't do in dealing with a homeless population. You can't round people up and ship them off someplace. Some people suggest that. They're human beings. We want to treat people humanely, and especially on a day like today, I can't imagine being out. You're hungry, you need food. If you could get somebody in housing and give them a meal, that takes care of a couple of the problems. But most of these people have addiction issues. They have medical issues. They probably have dental issues and so many issues. Likely they have need of a job. You're just addressing a couple issues if you can get into housing and food, and then you've got so many other issues that they need help with.
And services are limited now.
They are, but the other problem with Bangor is we're a service center. The services are in Bangor, so people come here. People say, I was in Brewer, how come they don't have a situation? There's so many towns in the area that will send the homeless population to Bangor, which is actually against the law, but it happens, and it's frustrating, and it frustrates our department, the Bangor department, but we deal with it. People are doing the best job they can. It's frustrating for them. I was just talking to our homeless coordinator who's getting down to the end of the week, and I was saying, wow, it's got to be frustrating because you deal with somebody, you help somebody out, you might help 10 people out, but then you get more people coming in that need help. And sometimes in that job, it probably feels like you're not making a difference, but they do help a lot of people. They make a real difference, but it's a huge problem.
I wanted your opinion on Portland raising their minimum wage to $19 over the next few years. Obviously, you're a business person and you have a deli department. It's got to be tough to make a sandwich or sell a sandwich when you're paying somebody $19, $20 an hour.
It's tough. I was surprised. I don't know if there was a close vote or not in Portland. I know it passed, and I think even the state of Maine, the minimum wage, when we went up a number of years ago, and it's set to go up every year with the cost of living increase, I just think it needs to be a federal minimum wage. You could have a McDonald's in Bangor, Maine, or McDonald's in South Carolina. If you have McDonald's in South Carolina, you're paying the federal minimum wage, which I think is $7. I don't know what the federal minimum wage is.
I think it's under $8.
Yeah, it's less than half of it. And when we went up in Maine, it went up drastically. I think it should have gone up more gradually and have annual increase. That was the problem. It hadn't increased for a number of years. So when it did increase, it went up quite substantially. So for a small business, it has quite an impact. And at the same time, there were other impacts on small businesses going on as far as bag fees. And it doesn't seem like a lot, but on top of each other, it's like death by 1,000 cuts. And in Bangor, if you're a retailer, like a convenience store in Bangor, which I am, there's a menthol ban on cigarettes, which might make sense statewide. But to me, if you have that in Bangor, it's not going to help the problem. Somebody that smokes menthol, they're going to go to VZ, they're going to go Brewer, Herman, and buy the menthol cigarettes. It hasn't stopped them from smoking menthol cigarettes. I know the rationale was that was an entry-level cigarettes for a lot of youth to smoke menthol and then they get hooked. But just because Bangor stopped selling them, that hasn't helped the problem, in my opinion.
How is business?
I've been very fortunate. I've got great employees. We've been very, very lucky. Got a nice spot over there. Store's been around Bangor for 100 years, and hopefully it's going to be there for a long time. We've got a very loyal clientele, and we're very fortunate. You think about 50 years ago in Bangor, the Quirks, at that time, they might have just opened Quirk Subaru out on the Griffin Road. And you look, they just reopened in the old Kmart, the Subaru now, and they've got a line of dealerships here and all over the state. You can really do a lot. And we just had the groundbreaking for the Y in Bangor. Just the face of Bangor is changing so much. Just 20 years ago in Bangor, there was no waterfront concerts. There was no casino. There was no timber restaurant on Main Street. There was no Bangor Savings Bank on the waterfront. Big things can happen in Bangor, and they are happening. And I think the Quirks are part of that, and it's just local families that work hard and making things happen.
As County Commissioner, what are some top issues facing Bangor and Penobscot County today?
Well, number one is clearly jail funding. I think the state needs to look at providing more, and it's not just in Penobscot County. Jails across the state need more jail funding. Aroostook County's got an issue with their budget. I think everybody's heard about what's going on in Washington County. I was just reading the Ellsworth American this weekend. Hancock County is looking at a 10% budget increase next year, and that's not so much because of the jail, but they had to make some wage adjustments down there. And Penobscot County wages, and in most government, wages and benefits are most of your budget. If you want to cut the budget, you're usually cutting personnel and services. Actually, a friend of mine today said, if you were running the county as a business, what would you do? There's a couple of things you can do. You can cut expenses, and we really can't lay too many people off and cut a lot of expenses. You raise prices, and the way the county raises prices is by raising taxes. That's the way the county gets their funds, is through the property tax, as well as municipalities. So I think we need another option for the county to raise money, whether it be when we have online gambling, maybe some of that money should come to the jails, or some of the marijuana money that the state gets, maybe that should come to the county. We don't see any of that money right now. It would make sense that some of those monies might come to the counties too. I think we just need to collaborate more, whether it be with municipalities, work on regionalization. The county funded a person that's worked with some towns in the northern part of the county, working on regional ambulance services and regional fire. They've made some success there, but even in this area, with some of the towns, I think we could work together maybe to have regional assessment. I think Cumberland County is doing that with Portland and some other towns. I think we could do regional assessment up here, but I think we need to collaborate more and try to find ways to work together, because there's only so many resources, especially in the smaller towns in the county and school districts. You look up in Millinocket, Skank, and Stearns, if they can work a little closer together, but the county is willing to help too. There's quite a bit of the county's unorganized territory, and the county gets money from a wind project up there, and we also get money from the federal government because of the National Monument, Katahdin Woods and Waters. So we try to use some of that money to spur some economic development in unorganized territory. A few years ago, we helped run fiber through the UT. There's a lot that's been happening in the unorganized territory on a regional basis. But we also are trying to help the Millinocket area, because if Millinocket does well, that whole region does well. And there's a lot going on in Lincoln. So Penobscot County is very, very diverse. It goes from Millinocket to the northern part of the county, and there's quite a bit of area over to Clifton, almost to Dover Foxcroft. So it's a big area. The other issue, I think, is the homeless and housing in general. I think throughout the county, and particularly in Bangor and the Brewer area, workforce housing is a real problem. Just last week, the National Association of Realtors said that the median age that people buy their first home now is 40 years old, and the median price is over $400,000 now. For somebody that's starting out to be able to get that, I know they're talking about 50-year mortgages, but I don't think that's the answer. But I think the city of Bangor is developing some housing on Grandview Avenue that's going to be more workforce housing. But if we can, and the county can help too, if we can find some spaces in the county where we could help facilitate some lower cost, maybe apartment type housing that would be economical for people. I mean, $1,000 used to seem expensive, but that'd be a very inexpensive apartment now. $2,000 is not unusual for people paying for housing now. And a lot of people, if you're making $20 an hour to pay a $2,000 rent, it's a substantial amount of your income. So we need to get apartments throughout the county that people can afford.
You are listening to Q Point Podcast. I'm Corenna Quirk, co-hosting with my husband, David Quirk, and we are having a conversation with Penobscot County Commissioner Dan Tremble. Speaking of Washington County, it's probably a good idea if I ask you, is Penobscot County doing their regular audits?
Yes and no. I mean, we are doing the audits, but we're quite far behind. This summer, we just got a 2021 audit. They're wrapping up the 2022 audit now. The city of Bangor, I think I saw that in the paper. That was part of the reason that there was an issue with one of the councillors kind of blowing up at a meeting earlier in the year. It was mostly concerning the audit. And everybody, as I understand it, 10 years ago, there were probably over 100 firms in the state of Maine, audit firms that could audit municipalities and government agencies. It's less than 20 now. Those firms, they're understaffed. Accounting officers at the government level, they're understaffed. It's like the perfect storm. And when the auditors come into the city, if you don't have your stuff ready, then it puts them further behind, and they're understaffed. So we were short-staffed for a while at the city, and now at the county, we've had turnover in the finance office. So it's kind of in the perfect storm at the county as well. We're catching up. Things are coming up that should have been caught earlier as a result of these audits. And one thing is the jail cap, that the county wasn't funding the jail cap, and they were spending the reserve funds to fund the jail, and it's going to hit the budget this year. So if the audits were done more timely, this might have been addressed sooner.
Did you say it was 20% increase?
About a 20% increase in the county tax this year.
And is that due to the audit?
Well, not due to the audit, but due to the fact that the jail cap, going over the jail cap for 4 years, they've depleted the reserve fund. So now the reserve funds are gone, so we need to pay it going forward now. So we don't have really any other option. We have to fund it to keep the county solvent and get the jail going. And next year's budget, there's $2.3 million in the jail budget to board prisoners out to other jails.
And what's the cost of a new jail?
Don't hold me to this, but I think we've looked at a new type of jail, which is kind of a prefab jail, which we've met with some firms in the Midwest. And a few years ago, the budget for jail was looking like at $100 million. They think they can do a 300-bed jail now for $70 million. You don't often hear of numbers going down for construction, but it looks like a high-quality jail that can be built for $70 million. That's still not a small amount of money, so I think it's going to be a tough sell to get that passed. We can make the case for it, I think.
Clearly, when you were on the city council, you must have seen crime rate go up in the city of Bangor versus the Penobscot County?
I suspect so. I never actually saw it. I can't recall any statistics showing that, but it wouldn't surprise me. It's a lot of petty crime, too, just nuisance crimes, people stealing stuff from the stores. You hear stores don't even prosecute people because it's not worth it when they steal stuff. And we had a case a couple of years ago. There was a guy going through town. I don't know if he was actually stealing much or if he was just on something, but he was on a spree, breaking windows through downtown in the Hammond Street area. We had our window broken at Fairmont Market, and he actually came in and really didn't take much. He took a tray of cigarettes and didn't break into the cash registers or anything. It was very bizarre, but the police caught him, and actually the DA asked me to go testify at his sentencing, and I did. And the point I made was just, it was a real feeling of uneasiness around town because people didn't know. All of a sudden, you got somebody going around breaking windows all over town. And there's a lot of uneasiness about it. So it was luckily they caught him right off and prosecuted him. I don't know what his case was. Actually, I think when they charged him, he was in jail for another crime. So it's frustrating. It's a lot of repeat offenders. Unfortunately, most of the people that are in jail right now aren't in our jail for petty crimes. They're in there for gun-related offenses, murder, large drug crimes, not the smaller types of crimes that you think people were in there for 30 years ago. It's frustrating, but the drug problem is very pervasive in town. That's why we've got so many clinics and places that try to help people. But there's people on the streets trying to connect with people, get them into services. And there's a certain part of the population in town that they simply are happy being where they are or refuse services. And there's not much you can do about those people. They do what's called a point-in-time count every December around the third week. And they go around and count how many homeless in Bangor. And for a number of years, I think we were probably ranged between 100 and 150. Didn't vary that much. But I think it's probably doubled that in the last 3 or 4 years. Since COVID, the unhoused population has really gotten bad. There used to be an encampment out on the university campus in Bangor, so I'd see a lot of them come in the store, and I'd ask them where they came from. And so many people came from outside of Bangor and other parts of the county, but people came from other parts of the country too. I would say, why did you come to Bangor? And some of them had family there here or friends. And especially on a day like today, I'm thinking, if I was a homeless person, I'd say, can I get a ticket to South Carolina? I really don't want to freeze up here, but they stick it out for the winter, and there's warming shelters, and we're going to have 3 warming shelters this winter in Bangor, as I understand it. So it never seems to be enough to meet the need. But if somebody comes up with a solution to this, they'll do very well, because it's not just Bangor, but hopefully we can do something to turn the tide on this problem.
As commissioner, I don't think people realize, but the commissioners have the final approval, right, for most employees?
Yeah, the commissioners oversee almost all the hiring at the county. And if there's a labor dispute, we hear the cases and we kind of mediate the cases between the union and the department at the county. It's quite a bit to it. And there's quite a bit to the county. I mean, it's a big budget. There's roads and mapping. There's the unorganized territory we oversee. There's the probate office, register of deeds. Actually, the Register of Deeds has been in the position quite a while. Susan Beloy, she does a great job. And she was saying there's some deeds from the 1800s, maybe the 1700s, that were actually written on a piece of wood. And we have them in file at the county. These go back a couple of hundred years. Most of the deeds now have been changed to microfiche, or they're no longer the paper deeds. Originally they are, but then they're transferred.
So if we want to look up those deeds, we have to go down and look at the piece of wood?
Exactly, yeah. We've got them still. I think the biggest thing really is people see the sheriff's department and nobody really sees the jail, but that's quite a bit of the county budget. And the DA's office. The DA's office is kind of unique. That's kind of a hybrid office. The state actually pays the salary of the DA and the prosecutors in the office, and the county pays the salaries of all the support staff. So it's a kind of a unique situation there.
So if the sheriff's department want to add staff, they have to go through the county commissioners to get approval?
The sheriff will be responsible for hiring, but if he wanted to have a new position, the commissioners have to approve it as part of his budget.
Just like a K-9 unit or something coming in?
And like this year, the DA's office wanted to hire a new position, and it was really justified, but I opposed it only because we're having a substantial increase. It's going to be about 20% increase in the budget this year. We just can't afford to create new positions this year. It was really, they do need the position, but I think they understood that we just couldn't do it this year.
Wow, that's difficult.
Chelsea wasn't happy with me.
Yes, well, she was on here telling us that now they have, 300 cases each?
Oh, yeah. And it's tough. I mean, they've created a new public defender's office, the state has, and they pay for these public defenders, but they kind of manage their caseloads. They pick and choose what they get for cases. As a DA's office, you don't pick and choose your cases. If there's a case at the court, you have to prosecute it. The public defender system, they're not worked at quite the level the DA's office is.
Yeah, I think it's 30%.
And when it was set up, the pay was supposed to be equitable with the prosecutors. And for some reason, I'm not sure how it happened, but they're now making quite a bit more than assistant DAs around the state. I'm not sure they need to make less, but I think the assistant DAs need to make more. And the county does dispatch, too. It started out probably 25 years ago. I mean, they've been doing it for a while. But when they started picking up dispatch for cities around the county, they were doing it as a case-by-case basis. The city would pay, each city would pay for their part of the dispatch. And then in the early 2000s, the county decided it had to add the cost of dispatch to the county tax bill. And if a town didn't decide to participate in it, they had to pay anyway. So Bangor didn't participate in dispatch for quite a few years. I think we finally joined dispatch maybe about 8 or 9 years ago. And so the county takes our 911 calls and then they get sent to Bangor. Bangor actually dispatches them. The county receives the 911 calls and then transfers them over to Bangor to dispatch them.
You oversee those personnel as well?
Yeah, Chris Lavoie runs that office. He does a great job, and he's got a great team there. And we dispatch for Aroostook County as well.
How long is your term?
It's a 4-year term. Most of the county offices, I think, are 4 years. Our sheriff's 4 years, and I'm pretty sure all the county positions are 4 years. Commissioner Cushing and I were elected last year. Commissioner Marshall's term is next year, and most of the other offices are all county-wide. The commissioner offices are district-wide. There's 3 districts in the county. I'm District 1, which is Bangor, Brewer, Holden, Eddington, Clifton, and Orrington, and I hope I didn't forget anything. Commissioner Cushing has most of the southern part of the county, and Commissioner Marshall has pretty much Old Town and north to the county. Population, they should all be pretty equal, but geographically, I've got the smallest area.
Before we let you go, Dan, you've been in politics locally for a while now. Have you ever thought about running for a higher office?
I think people in public office always think, I could do a better job in this office or that office than that person. But being at a store like I have, a convenience store, being there every day, you know when you're not doing a good job. People let you know right off, and they tell you what's on their mind. So being on the city council, having a small business has been a great fit. I think being at the county level and still staying in that job is a good fit because you get instant feedback from people about how things are going, how they feel, and what they think the needs are. And it's worked out well for me. And even going in the legislature in Augusta, I don't think would be a good fit for me. I think I'd enjoy it down there, but it takes you away from Bangor. During the day, the county commission meets weekly. And now it meets every other week. It meets in the day, 1 day a week. The city council business was mostly at night, so I could run my business and do all the other things around it. As far as a federal position, that would be exciting. It's a lot of work just to run for it and put a campaign together, but we've been lucky in Maine that we've had great people service in Washington. And people have asked me, would you run for higher office? And I really think this is a very exciting position to have been on the city council and to be able to be county commissioner. And if you told me when I started in 2000, that'd be 15 years on the city council, I would have been mayor twice, and then county commissioner and 12 years as county treasurer, I would have said you were crazy because I thought I might do a couple of terms on the city council. But I've enjoyed every day of it. I'm happy at this level.
What are you going to do with all your downtime?
Well, I was thinking that, but I think my wife's got some lists of things for me to do, and she's got me car shopping today.
Oh, great. Well, you're in the right
I'm in
place.
the right place.
Well, thank you for serving us here at the Bangor in Penobscot County. We do appreciate it.
Not only as a counselor and commissioner, but as a business person. I used to go to you quite often to donate to events that I was putting on, and you never said no.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Penobscot County Commissioner Dan Tremble, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
You've been listening to Q Point.
Follow us at qpointpodcast.com or on your favorite streaming app.
This is where you can get the news from the people who make the news.
Make sure to join us next time.
We hope you tune in.
Q Point Podcast invites guests and candidates from all parties to join the conversation. The views, information, opinions, and comments expressed during this program do not necessarily represent those of the host, Q Point Podcast, associates, affiliates, and CQRE LLC.
Thanks for being a part of the conversation. The most important voices aren't always the loudest ones. They're the voices of everyday people, raising families, running businesses, serving their towns. That's who we want to hear from. Share your ideas with us online, and let's make sure those voices are never left out. Find us on Facebook or on X or at qpointpodcast.com. We look forward to hearing from you. Catch every episode at qpointpodcast.com or wherever you stream. Tune in and tell your friends.